Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today.
Welcome, Larry.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Today we have author L.R. Maley. He is the author of the Chronicles of Manaar. Correct? Did I get that right?
That's good.
Yay! And these are, well, yes, from the description, I'm guessing they are fantasy books. Is it adult fantasy or YA fantasy?
It's everybody fantasy.
Okay.
A lot of people will say I'm young adult, but I didn't write it as a young adult. I just wrote the story the way I wanted to, or I like it. So I say age 14 to 90.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I like to know whether, readers can introduce it to their kids or it should stay with the adults. So, yeah.
The only thing, like when it gets to younger than 14, like there's no suggestive language. There's no sex. But the one thing is there are some dark moments dealing with the loss of loved ones.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that'll age it.
Okay. Fun. Well, jump in and tell us like the world, the characters, the story. What will we encounter when we
Okay,
come to these books?
okay. It's a story about six young adults who find themselves embroiled in a war of the world. It starts. I'll give you the quick start of it. It starts off with them. They're in a small poor village. They're off to their annual harvest festival. They're having a great time, and then at the dance, while their romances are starting to be kindled, they are suddenly attacked by invaders from the north. And what they find out, okay, is that there were no Manaar around. There was no magic, but all of a sudden this army is being propelled by witches and magi and arcane arts. And my kids, they escape tragedy at the harvest festival, and they're staying out in front of this advancing army, and they start to learn that they can use magic too. Okay, thus the immersion. And that's the crux of the story through the whole thing. It's all centered on the world building and the magic system. Why there was no magic before, why there's magic now, and why do they have it? It's the underlying theme, and their kind of first quest is to find out why and what it is, and then they've got to reverse it because, in truth, it's quite sinister.
Okay, so there's this is more of an evil force than one that could be waged for good.
Um, well, there'll be characters in the book that will say the mana is neither good nor evil. It's the person that wields it that determines it. However, it's the underlying theme of many fantasy books. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that's one of the things that one of my main characters is constantly aware of is making sure that they don't fall victim to the lust for power and domination. So, again, there are many themes that but they're well tested and true themes, or tried and true themes, and I've kind of explored a few of them with my characters throughout the book.
Yeah, that sounds like a very responsible, mature take on using magic and power for these young adults. The ages are they coming of age adults here, or were they truly like before that?
They they are 17 years old at the
Okay.
start of the book, and by the end of the book they'll be like, or by the end of the third book they're 22, 21, 22. So there's a big time span. The first, it's set up in stages. The first bit is to survive, then to learn, then to return the fight, and then to eradicate the evil. That's what how it wraps up in the third book.
Okay. And is the third book the finale to the series, or is there more?
It is the finale to the series, okay, but I've done this, okay, because I've seen other authors write books that I just love and I just want more of it, and I always get a little frustrated, like maybe they trapped themselves that they couldn't do more. So I kind of left a big gap between. I've set it up in Chronicles, obviously the Chronicles of the Manaar. The first book consists of 3 Chronicles. The second is 2, and then the third is 3 again. Okay, but right in the prologue of book 3, at the end of it, I say, okay, this book contains Chronicles 7, 8, or 6 and 7, and then 10. Okay, Chronicles 8 and 9 are the lost chronicles because at the time of this publication they are lost. So there's a time gap from when my characters leave off in the 7th chronicle to the start of the 10th chronicle, like a 3-year time gap. And so one of the things that's going on in that 10th chronicle when they're trying to do the final boss battle is the reader's learning kind of through the interactions of the characters and their conversations what happened in those 2 lost that is relevant to the current situation. Okay, so later on, I've got those Lost Chronicles. I know exactly what happens to them. I've got them outlined, and at some point, I want to go back and finish them, and hopefully, I'll have a fan base that is trying to or is starving for them the way I starve for added works of other authors.
Yeah, that's really neat. That's a good idea. Because, yeah, sometimes authors will do prequels or takeouts on different characters, or there's a lot of ways to do that and
Yeah.
give your readers more within
4.2, 4.3.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
0.5.
Yep.
Well,
So
fun.
yeah,
How did you come up? Go
okay, go
ahead.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Shoot, go
Okay.
ahead and shoot.
I was going to say, how did you come up with the idea for these stories?
Um, well, I'll tell you, it started the brewing of this or the basis for the magic system kind of started when I was a young man in elementary school. Okay, when I first learned in I don't know if it's history or whatever in 6th grade about uh, Aztec and Mayan sacrifice. Okay, and it bothered me, and for a long time it was always, every now and then I'd see something, and it just bothered me. How could anybody do that to another person, and what did they think they were gaining? Okay, so thus mana. Okay, and that's the dark side of the Chronicles is mana is usurped from somebody dying through sacrifice, and and there's 2 kinds of mana. There's life mana and death mana, and the bad guys are sopping up the death mana, and the life mana is the wayward mana that is left in kind of in limbo, and that's where the immersion comes from. When the tragedy strikes at the harvest festival, there's a well of life mana that was released from all from their loved ones in their village, and it all gravitated to what? The pure, my virgin 17-year-old kids who are just on that brink of adulthood where everything just looks wonderful to them. They became extremely powerful from absorbing all that mana.
That's such a good idea. Wow, that's very cool. I wrote Aztec I guess it's a mythological fantasy. It's like a take on the Aztec mythology and a little bit of that. So I've done a lot of that research about their sacrifices and things like that. So that's interesting take on like getting power. Yeah, I mean the Aztecs believed that they sacrificed the people to the gods, so the gods were happy. But yeah, that's a great twist on that story and that power that you hear so many times about power being released in death, or a lot of the witch stories are like it marks the site with power, right?
Yeah, yep. The old silver dagger and all that stuff. Um, So yeah, that was the origins of it, and then I just started world building. Once I started writing, and again the whole, I tried writing a book back in the '90s, and it was a kind of a young adult fantasy, and I thought it was decent enough, but back then it was the old send out nine sets of the first three chapters and wait for rejection, send out another, and it just took the life out of me. So I didn't try writing again until everybody else started writing in COVID when we're all homebound. So I started again, and it's a different world. You can start off as an indie and hone your skills, and you know, I don't want to. I'll tell you, I despise doing all the extra stuff that after I want to write, but all that comes with being an indie author, marketing and the networking and so it's more time than you can or you can do and still have a meaningful writing career. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, I would agree.
So
Just let us do what we want. Just let us write.
that's it. Yeah, go take care of everything. Send me my check. But there's so many talented authors out there right now. It's hard to get going.
Well, that
So
sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, your first three books are Immersion, Redemption, and Ascension. And you said there's space for more. I think I saw on your website you also have audiobooks.
yes, yeah, I know that's another great thing that I learned on this, or I lucked out is I got this David Pickering is my reader. He's a Brit, and evidently he's kind of well known over there, because I've asked, I'm at Disney with my daughter and I see some British people. I say, hey, do you know who David Pickering is? And I say, yeah, he does this and this. Yeah, I got a celebrity reading my book, but he is phenomenal. I've my two favorite readers of all the books that I've read have always been like Rob Inglis when his version of the world Lord of the Rings, and Jim Dale, Harry Potter. Okay, and David Pickering, in my opinion, is right up there with those guys. Matching voices to characters, accents, his delivery. Again, I can't say how happy I was that I lucked into such a talented reader.
I love audiobooks. Yeah, and I've had books produced in audiobook, and yeah, it's as an author, it's really fun to hear those voices come to life. So it's really neat.
Well, have you had the experience where, like, there's one spot where, Stina is one of my protagonists. She's gone through probably the worst tragedy of them all at the beginning, and she's in with her boyfriend, and they're holding hands, and she's telling him, the worst part of the tragedy that happened to her, and David Pickering read it in a way that I started to choke up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what I do to this poor girl? But
I cry over my characters all the time. So yeah.
yeah, well, that was something I didn't expect, out of it, and I don't think I would have got it listening to the AI read it back to me.
Oh, yeah.
No, it had to be somebody that knows how to put the inflection in the voice.
Right. I agree with that. So were you trained as a writer? Is that your profession as well as your hobby? Or how did you get to be, how did you decide that yes, I can write and I can write a good story?
Well, I'll tell you, there's kind of two parts to it. The training was playing Dungeons and Dragons as a dungeon master. Okay, that I really believe that. And after I got into trying to write books and stuff, I realized that setting up a story and that it was the same as doing Dungeons and Dragons and setting up a module. But as far as thinking that I had the ability to, it goes back to when I was in grad school, and I was in a class. I can't remember the exact class, but it was a lit class, and one of the requirements was to keep a daily journal of our speaking and stuff, and outside of class experiences. And I had this black binder, and my handwriting is horrible, just horrible. Okay, so comes the last day, the professor's passing the stuff back, or these journals back, with our grade, and it was a big part of the grade. And she said, "Who had that black folder?" I'm like, "Oh, here I go. She's gonna nail me for how horrible my writing is." She couldn't read it, and I didn't say nothing. I was like stunned. Come on, who wrote this black journal? She's right here, and she held it up, and I raised my hand, expecting to get it, and she said, "You are a writer, aren't you?" And I went, "What?" She said, and she just went on to the whole class for like 10 minutes how much she enjoyed reading my journal and stuff. So that kind of gave me the spark, like maybe I can write. And then I tried that. So this is back in the 90s again. So I tried that first book, and you know, like I said, just uh, starting the Chronicles may have been again boredom during COVID, and I just said, I better put my money where my mouth is and do something. So I started on one of the many ideas that I've thought would be a good book. So.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a great idea, and you're right. Like, I think a lot of indie authors did come out of that 2020. It's interesting because as an author, I didn't write that year. And I've talked to some other authors that had been, so it seemed like people did what they didn't do before. Like if you
Right.
weren't writing a book before, then you decided I'm going to write a book. But if you were already writing, you're like, no, this is too much. I can't do my normal thing. So that was kind of interesting. And how fast did you write and publish these books?
Now, the first book, it was really fast, and it flowed first. I mean, I was doing 3,000-4,000 words a day. I was like, and so excited about that. And there's one book I read by Rachel Aaron, how to go from 2K to 10K in a day. And I read, basically she outlined what I was doing. And there were some other hints that I picked up from her. It was really a good read, but she's saying she's doing 10K words a day, and I'm thinking I would be happy if I could maintain two to 4,000. I'm not doing it since, but the first book popped out pretty quick. With like I say, I was getting 4,000 a word day writing in, which was really good. I was gonna ask.
We were
Word
talking
count.
about the timeline of being able to publish all three
Yeah,
books.
so yeah, each subsequent one got slower. So I did immersion, editing, and everything in a year. Redemption was more like 16 months, and then Ascension, because there was a lot of stuff I had to keep going back and making sure I had continuity. I'm sure you understand that, and uh, so that one took 2 years, and I still want to go back and do a second edition and clean it up a little bit. But there you have it. Um, I am writing now, and I'm having I got like two books I'm kind of simultaneously doing, and I'm having a heck of a time doing 1,000 words a day. But we'll see how it goes.
Oh, two books at the same time seems like it would be challenging.
Well, you know what I think I found is when I hit that wall on one, the other one opens up.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm always got something going. I don't have to take those 4 or 5 day off. Let things kind of simmer, because the other one was simmering all along. So
Okay.
hopefully that'll work.
Yeah, that
Um,
sounds like a good strategy. I haven't tried that one yet, but when I write different things, I write like fantasy and romance, and when those commingle, it's not a great thing. You can't really kill off a romantic partner. We could kill off a romantic partner, but then it would be a different book. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of killing off characters, I established a character right off. A good guy. I wanted to have somebody that the reader would feel his death. He's helping my kids out. And my wife said, "You can't kill him." Okay. So I put another character in, same thing. You can't kill him. Finally, I went in secret, established another good character, killed him off, and it was too late. She couldn't, she couldn't veto me.
That's funny. Yeah, I haven't, well, I don't tell people in advance that I'm going to do that. So, but yeah, I did have a character that was an antagonist. Like he was supposed to be a bad guy in my story. And then he was doing so well at pretending to be a good guy that I started to like him. And then so I just made it end up that they just thought he was a bad guy or they suspected he was a bad guy, but he was really good because I couldn't make him a bad guy. So that has happened
I'm
to me.
I'm guilty of that one too. Yeah. I had one guy that was going to be and I started off, uh, making the few of the characters hate him, for things he had done, but eventually he turned out to be a good guy. So it's cool how your characters will find their own way. Um, and I think probably the biggest lesson that I learned in immersion was letting your characters find their own way. And again, I'm sure you've experienced something like this, but I was an outline writer, outline to the ninth degree. I learned that in school. That's what I did for papers. And I got to a point where they were approaching a battle, and the outline basically went through the steps. Gris and Gavin escort them to the caravan. They get out of the town right before the battle starts, and they're down the road ways, and things will be okay for them. But the object was they were saving the kids from this battle because they had to preserve and not risk losing their magic users. And all of a sudden, Nareed said, "Hey, Mick, we can help." And he like said, "Yeah, let's go." And I'm like 3 pages into this before I realized I deviated from the outline. They were just going doing stuff, and then I looked and I thought, "Wait a second." So I started deleting it. I started deleting. I thought, "Wait a second, something cool's happening here." And then I let it go. And from that moment on, I stopped outlining, and I just went by scene description, scene headings and descriptions, and then whatever I wrote, I just let the characters work their way through it.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I've never done detailed outlines because I just get too bored. If I know beforehand everything that's going to happen, I don't want to write it. I'm like, why write this? Because I already know what's going to happen. So
Right.
I mean, for me, it's like enjoyable to discover like what the character, and I always know like, okay, this is where the book is beginning, this is where it's ending, this is probably what some major plot points are going to be, the ups and downs.
But
But
but you
then,
leave them fluid enough that they can change based on what happens.
right, but I know
Yeah.
where they need to go. So every plot line or every scene needs to make sense in the bigger picture. So you have a goal. But yeah, and my editor finally got me to do like outlines after the fact. So after I write a chapter, I just make notes about what happened in that chapter
Right.
so that we can go back, especially with a series, we can go back and say, well, what happened in that chapter. Um, so we can reference them. But other than that, yeah, I don't like to outline. I do like a basic plot structure and then go from there. So
That's me now. You've got to know where the story's going, and by knowing where the story's going, you know how to things just kind of pop in. You kind of just throw in a character, something in passing, and then a couple chapters later you remember that, and so all of a sudden it has bearing on the whole story. Yeah, I like when that happens. Just the incidental things that you're just writing in as filler ends up being important.
fun. And so you said what you're writing right now is that those two lost chapters from your
I'm I'm
series?
gonna I'm gonna start the lost chapters probably in the fall. The ones I'm writing now, I'm writing a monster hunter story, and the other one's gonna be a space opera.
Oh, fun. So
So
lots of different kinds of fantasy there.
yeah. I just I've got and I started a time traveler one, and I had to simmer down on it because um it was getting political. I don't want to stir up the hornet's nest in today's society. I don't want people hating me from either side because they think, whatever I'm writing is influenced by my politics. So I stopped the time traveler one because he was making observations about today, being in his history, and I needed to get away from that.
Yeah, I wrote a dystopian pandemic book Like I published the first one in 2018, and then the second one, the sequel, came out in March of 2020. Not good timing for a dystopian pandemic, that's obviously. But I want to write the finale because the family is like, half the family's in China and half the family's in the United States, but I can't figure out a way to get them back together because I was reading the New York Times and it said, oh yeah, like zombie movies are becoming popular because some people are seeing this as, okay, it's an escape from everything they're feeling, and it's so
Right.
outlandish that it could never happen. So this is an escape that's kind of scary, but okay, because it could never happen probably, right? And
Right.
in that, I'm like, oh, I could think of something that could never happen. And I'm like, no, I'm just not going there. I can't write that book. So,
Yeah. So,
well, that's exciting. Author L.R. Maley is here with us today. Tell us where we can find you and your books.
well, right now it's on Amazon. It can print on Amazon, Kindle, and an Audible, like we discussed earlier. I'm going wide now. I'm not gonna be a Amazon exclusive anymore, Kindle exclusive. So over the next few weeks, I'm gonna be getting it on what's that one? Spark.
Ingram Spark.
Ingram Spark,
Okay.
and I want to try to get in a few others as well. Again, it's going slow doing that because I hate that aspect of stuff. I just gotta grin and bear it, and get the ISBN numbers and do the business.
Yes. So, and what is your website? So I did see that you have maps and lots of cool stuff on your website.
Yeah, most of the maps I drew myself, and then a few of them I had professional map makers take my sketches and clean them up. But my website is lrmaleynovels.com. And my son takes care of that for me. He's a computer whiz, and again, it's just one of those things that I never have time to keep up with. So. But yeah, and all the links are to where you can buy the books are there, and he keeps it pretty up to date with what I'm doing, what I'm writing now, and that there's a lot of background pictures and stuff for the Chronicles.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I always love those extras, and maps always get me. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll come back when you publish your next books, and we will
Thank
see
you.
you soon.
Thank you, Trisha. I will. It's very nice meeting you, and this has been a wonderful interview. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Trisha Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week to discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.